Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Skill Riders podcast, episode number 228. I'm your host, 65 Locs. On the commute again, driving out. Just wanted to do a recap of NNL West 2024. It's all done. It's over. It's crazy. It went by so fast. I was telling one of my friends, it almost seems like a dream, you know? It's like I dreamt that I was out there. And when I woke up, it's like, it's all done. It was over, you know? Definitely a lot of memories that happened out there. And yeah, it was fun. Definitely fun. So let's start off from the beginning. Friday, which was the January the 19th, I headed out, got ready, headed out early morning. Had to make a trip out to my parents' place, and my daughter was with me like that first hour of the journey into NNL West. So I had to bring her out. They watched her for that weekend, and so it was the second time I had to, that this went down like this. So it's like I'm driving, she's in her baby seat, I'm looking back, and she's just chilling, playing with her toys and like singing and all that good stuff, and like the front seat's all like full of product, the trunk's full of product, the seat next to her, it's like a box with model kits and stuff like that, and she's so good with all my stuff. Like, she never touches any of my things. She knows that stuff's mine, or just not to play with, so she's very respectful about all that. And I never even had to tell her, like, no, don't touch that. Like, it's just, I don't know, natural or something. She just does not go for my things, and just her being surrounded with all that stuff around her, she was not tempted at all to like want to get anything. So that was pretty cool. And once I dropped her off, I took down the baby seat, and now I had more room, so I was able to reorganize and just get everything more consolidated as far as space. And then I needed to pick up my friend, Randall. For those that were at NNL West, you guys might have met him. He was there with me at my vending booth, helping me vend. And he was also there at the pizza night. So I picked him up. We headed out. It was about 5-hour drive from his place all the way up, taking the 101, going north. So we're, cruising through like Santa Barbara, Santa Maria, Gilroy, Salinas, all those cities until we reach our destination, San Jose, Sunnyvale area. And, for 5 hours, it wasn't bad. I guess the more you think like, oh man, it's a 5-hour drive, or, 6 hours or whatever, it seems heavy, like, oh, we're going to probably have to take all kinds of breaks and this and that. And it wasn't that bad. We were, obviously conversating. We'd listen to some music, small segments of a podcast, just like things that we were talking about in conversation that was like, oh, let me show you this, And it was like, oh man, we're already 3 hours in, and oh, we only got 2 left, and then oh, just 1 hour left, and next thing you know, we're already like pulling up into the area to our hotel to check in. And part of the plan was to, when we got there after check-in, drop everything off, was to kind of head down to downtown San Jose, and I wanted to check out a record store. My friend wanted to check out, he was telling me it's like a game/collectible store. And they were literally like 4 stores from each other. So if we went, we'd park at one place and we could just walk, right? And that was the plan. And I mean, these stores close around 6. And we got around town around like 3. So we were like, oh, cool. Like, we got time. But by the time we brought everything down and everything, it was like, it was already like, no, we got in like 3:30. So it was like getting close to 4. And I was telling my friend, like, dude, I don't think we're going to make it. I mean, we could make it, but we're not going to be comfortable. Like, meaning we're going to get there, we're going to look at the stuff, and we're going to have to bounce. Because what ends up happening is that you start hitting rush hour, in those areas. Everyone's getting off work. There's a lot more traffic. Everyone's headed home. And, I mean, you're in the city, so there's going to be tons of traffic. When it's like non-peak, you're looking at like a 30-minute drive either way to destinations, but that could be extended to an hour, or more. And that was one of my concerns. I didn't want to miss out on anything for the pizza night. It starts at 6 p.m. and I didn't want to just end up in downtown and kind of be stuck on the road leaving and being like, oh man, like we're not going to be there at 6. It looks like we're going to be there at like 7 or something. You know what I mean? Like, and I was like, nah. And the main purpose of coming out was to go to the pizza meet and not necessarily to go to a record store. It's just if you have the time, the good thing though is that record store, they have like an online. They have records on a website called Discogs. It's pretty much a record marketplace where various stores and sell records, or just not even stores, just independent sellers sell on there. And they have a lot, like whatever I'm looking for, it's already listed there. So I could just order it, pay $5 shipping, boom, and get it in. So I wasn't too much like worried about that, So, and then my friend was like, yeah, it's all good. We don't have to go to that store either. Like, it's not the end of the world, So we just decided not to. So we kind of hung out a little, and then we took off. We were like, you know what? Let's just jam right now. So we left early. We left early over to over there, and man, it was crazy. Like when we took off, because we did hit some traffic. That's for sure. A little bit, but like the 30 minutes turned into like 40 minutes from our hotel to the pizza spot. But it was cool though. We weren't in a rush. We were just chopping it up and everything, and we knew we were gonna get there early, like at least 30 minutes before 6. So that was cool. Some of my friends were like already there, so it was nice just letting them know like, hey, I'm pulling up. They're like, hey, I'm here. So it's cool. And yeah, right when we got there to Round Table Pizza, it was at the same pizza spot, same location. In the back corner, there's a room where I would imagine they would host, like little private birthday parties and gatherings, things of that nature. So we were posted up there. Alex was there. Well, it was cool. Alex busted out with some stickers, Slice of the West stickers. So those were nice. Those are really nice to see. He had those available right there, giving them out to friends. And so we had the Slice of the West stickers. And I brought out a couple of model kits because originally, Alex always does his award, the Slice of the West. And I had mentioned to him like, hey, would you be down to do like a second award? And we come up with the name, and Alex decided to call it It's Just Plastic. And I told him, yeah, and I'll bring some kits, a couple kits to give to whoever you pick, boom, they'll get a kit. So just add a little more to it, and yeah, it was cool. Like, everyone started setting up. I brought my model cars. I also brought an RX-7 that Slowly Models built, and I started displaying those. The homie Matt came through, started posting up all his JDM builds, and little by little, people were just showing up and putting models. Originally it started with 2 tables. Oh yeah, and then Armando too, he was there setting up the Pink Motel. He brought that out along with all the model cars from the Car Club Genocide that he replicated. So he had that there on the center table, and we all just started putting our models all around. And those 2 tables like, so 6, by 6:30, tables are filling up. By 7, those 2 tables were full. Like, they were just full of cars. So there was, more people showing up with cars, and they just weren't sure, like, where to put them or what. So, it was like fasting. Alex, my homie Javier, Matt, and like others, they acted fast, and they were like, hey, what if we just like move this table there, let's connect another one, and let's move stuff around. So started moving chairs around and everything, and next thing you know, there was a 3rd table. Boom, more cars. Started filling that up too. And finally, the table that had a pizza that Alex had purchased, at first you saw the large pizzas chilling right there. Next thing you know, they're all like, gone, like people getting the pizza. And then once all that got cleared away, it was not that table was now taken over by model kits. So it got swooped up. It was just now nothing but cars. And man, it was packed. Like, there was so many people there. It was one of those things where it was almost like the first time the pizza thing started, when Alex did it, it was like a huge turnout of people. And this is like 2019, I want to say, when it was that first time. And everybody was just excited, jazzed to be there, because the next day was NNL West. And then obviously there wasn't one for 2020, and maybe I can't remember if even like 2022, but there was a gap, obviously. And just like now, this one, it was like we're back on track. Like, people made the trip, people came out, and people are chopping it up. You could overhear people asking questions to others about builds and stuff like that. So that was pretty nice, and just having everything so grouped together was dope. And I went live a few times on different platforms. So I went live on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, and then I went live on TikTok, and then I went live on Instagram. So I was just showing, all the models that were there, the 3 times that I went live. And, I wanted to just share, and let what I was seeing there. I know at some point, and when I was live, it would cut out a little, or it might have been a little distorted, just because of the connection, out there with the Wi-Fi. But I did manage to get in some recordings, like somewhat of a clean recording. And for those that couldn't make it, I'm pretty sure they were like, man, I wish I could have gone, that I normally go, because there was a nice turnout of people that were there, and just a lot of neat and new models, even models that we've seen before. But still, it's like you want to bring out all your cars, for those, because there is people that show up from far who this might be their first time, and now they got a chance to see that model up close, and see the details, the paint job, the clear coats and all that. And I'm sure everybody left very inspired. By the time it was 9 p.m., it was like time to wrap up. People started getting their cars, started packing up, heading out, back to their hotels, or if they live nearby, back to their homes, just to get ready for the next day, because the next day was going to be like an early event. And for the night, a couple people got selected for their builds, and it was just like they were just super happy. And people left, others still hung out for a while, and it was like around 10 now, and I was like, I was telling my homie, we should jam, dude, because let's get something to eat. I know it's late, but let's just get something, and then let's just chill and kind of get ready for the next day, because we got to be up early. we got to be out there early, and at the same time we knew that there was going to be a football game the next day. So we were, at first we didn't know what time. We thought, oh man, it's going to be morning, that could affect the show. But later we found out it was going to be in the evening. So we were like, oh cool, it's not really gonna, by the time we're getting out of NNL West, that's barely popping off. There might be a little traffic leaving, but as far as coming in, we don't have to worry so much. And we went back, got things organized, so the plan, it could be executed easy in the morning. And basically we just had to like load up the car and take off, grab some coffee and just take off. For some reason I felt like setup was earlier. I always felt like, oh, maybe setup's like at 7, but it wasn't. It was at 8. We got there at 7:30. There was already people unloading, so we got there a great time to unload our stuff, get it in the venue, and then be able to park in the structure. And it was cool because even the people that were ushering like the parking spaces and all that, those guys were super nice. And before, you really wouldn't see anybody working there, on their post. You would just pull up, park, and you're in. But I think due to the game, they really wanted people who were coming out for the model show to be able to come in and park in their parking structure for the model show, and not have like a bunch of people pulling up to tailgate and be there all day. There's always events and different things going on those weekends. So I think they wanted to just make sure that people were accommodated and were able to find parking, because that's always a nerve-wracking thing when you're so excited, or you got tickets to go to an event or something, and it's like you get there and then there's no parking, and you're like, well, how's this gonna work? And in some way or another, you try to make it work, and you end up parking so far, and and sometimes it's inconvenient, or sometimes there's just no parking where you just have to leave, and you end up just not being able to go to the show or the event. And it sucks when that happens. You're like, what the heck? Like, that's not cool. But over here, I mean, I don't think anybody really had to worry about that, because everything was cool. You just had to tell them, going to the model show, cool, come in, park right here. So that was dope. So, getting there early morning, you pull in through the back. There's a big door that they open, and we had a little cart where we wheeled in all our stuff, and we started setting up our table. I pretty much brought every Liberty Walk kit I have by Aoshima, and a bunch of various like Honda kits from like Tamiya, Fujimi, that I brought with me, and along with a lot of tools, water slide decals, fuzzy fur, and I brought a couple of t-shirts that I had as well in a large, that I was like, what, I'll bring these, because I do have them. I've had them for a little bit, and magazines. So it's like a variety. I did record and post videos of the table, so that was pretty dope. Like, just seeing it all come together, and then everybody else like setting up their tables. Next to us was these two guys. They almost look like brothers. I could be wrong, but they had a store in San Jose, and they were set up there. They were selling like paint from Mr. Hobby, and also like some tools of Mr. Hobby. But it was cool, like seeing their racks and their setup and everything right there, because you never really get to see that kind of stuff. So seeing that, I was like, oh man, that's pretty dope, and then everybody else just like model kits galore, right? Like everywhere, open box, brand new, and whatnot. And once we were done setting up, I mean, there was still time for them to open the doors. That wasn't gonna happen until like 9. So we still had a little bit of a time to just kind of hang out, and people who were vending were just roaming around trying to see what they could find, and making those like early bird purchases of things, and finally when it was like 9, they started letting people in, and you just start seeing just a crowd of people walking in with all their models, setting up, picking out the table where they were going to be at, filling out their forms for the paperwork, and just kind of setting up their models out there. And it was just nice to see all that. I brought my models, but I didn't put them out on the tables. I didn't want to leave them in the car, so I had them under my table the whole time. And I was supposed to display them on my table, but that didn't happen just because of the space. I didn't have any space. But at some point I forgot about them, meaning after I set up, I knew they were there, but I just didn't think anything of it. I was just I was just kind of just focused on the vending part of things. So speaking with a couple friends, they kept rumoring that this was the last NNL and this and that, but I was like, I doubt that, because they would have said something. And later I started to find out that it was actually, they were announcing next year would be the last NNL. So this one was their 38th NNL. This next one would be their 39th, and the 39th would be scheduled for 2025, most likely January, and that would of course be the last NNL, is from what they're saying. There was like a paper, or it looked like a poster that they posted there. I did hear the host, which is like their DJ on the mic, who reads out like the raffles. He did mention we'll see you next year, and they were busy, dude. Like there was a lot of people. A lot of people came out to NNL. Like NNL looked more promising. Like the year before, it was slow. There wasn't that many people there. It was somewhat slow, but it's like a build-up. Because you also got to consider, all right, even the year before that, they had it on a different date, and then dates changed and stuff, and people who had all these like bookings originally had to cancel like hotels, flights, and all that. So that really affected a lot of people, like where it costed them money, and they didn't get to experience like the NNL and all that. So I know for like this one, it was kind of like, oh man, kind of in that same boat, I mean, not this one. It's almost like, were they gonna come? Maybe not. But it kind of. I think for some people, they were like, cool, things look back to normal, because it's always in January. But one time they couldn't do it in January, it had to be done like during the summer, and that's what threw people off, and now it feels like it's back in its course. It's back in its place of what it's gonna be at, which is really awesome. And now with that, you have like next year coming up. If it's really their last one, then that needs to be promoted heavy now, like right now, not fucking 2 months out. Oh, NNL January. No. You can't sit back. Like, you got to start promoting the hell out of it now. Like, that like the flyer needs to be done already. Boom, booking, boom, like all this stuff, right? Or even if you don't got a date, at least some type of flyer announcing like this is the last one. I'll do whatever I can to spread word, obviously with this podcast right now, as I'm recording this, letting everybody know that they already announced in a paper that they had there at the show that 2025 would be their last show, and that would be their 39th event or 39th anniversary per se. So for those that are listening, also, if you could please start letting people know, those that attend, start spreading the word. This is the last one. It's official. They made that announcement right there, and we're just passing on the word, because there's not going to be another one, especially there. I mean, you do got to consider there's a lot of money involved in that, meaning like to book the place. I mean, they're a non-profit organization, but when it goes down to like booking a venue, you got to front the money. And I'm sure a lot of that comes from personal, financial, it's a high risk to put down, and with no guarantee of return, right? And I'm just assuming, I mean, if you're fronting from your personal to the nonprofit organization, once the event's done, then you get reimbursed, because you had to front your money at the time. So it's very interesting, but at the same time, it's like, from what the guys are saying on the flyer, it's like they're getting older and everything, and it's like, man, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of responsibility, that's for sure. And now it's coming to an end, so it's pretty much like, think of like GSL, okay? Like GSL last year, that was the last one, right? And it's kind of the same vibe, like, people hosting it, running it, that are passionate about doing this. They're up there in age, and when you're older in age and you're doing this, it's really hard. It's hard on your body, it's hard on your mind. There's a lot that goes along with a lot of baggage. When you're young, you can handle all this. You're excited, you're pumped. You're just down. You're down to do the work and everything. But from doing it, 30, 40 plus years, it's like, you feel like, man, it's coming to an end. And sometimes it's tough. Like you want the legacy to continue, but you do need a crew of people to pass that torch on to, because it's not just like, one person. It's got to be a group for sure of people that come together and continue it. So I predict that next year there's going to be a lot of people going to NNL West. I definitely want to go. I definitely want to go to this last one. Book a table again to vend. But, I for sure, I think I'd like to build some new stuff to bring to that one, and just have it out like there at the tables. I don't know. It's like a bittersweet thing. I'm sure those guys would be relieved, like, oh man, it's done. Like happy, like it's all over with. But at the same time, sad, because it's like, well, man, like when the next January kicks in, they're gonna remember. And it's crazy, man, because there's always, when you start something, it's new, it's exciting, and then you get used to doing this for so many years that it's a part of you, it's part of your identity, it's part of what you do. And eventually, you have your ups, your downs, you go through everything with this project, or with this business venture. And then, you grow along with the business, where you finally reach a point where you're up in age and stuff, where it's time to hang it up. It's time to take that hat off and just put it down. And it could be sad, or it could be a good thing. It's just so many different emotions that roll around with it, and everybody goes through it. Everything has its time, a beginning and an end. People will always remember the good times. People will always remember when something crazy must have happened, whatever, but it's always like the heyday, of when things were like going on, and eventually it's like coming to an end. I always think about like my father's flower shop business, and then more looking back, more of the history of my father when he started his career in the flower industry to where he's at now, still active, still operating his business, but eventually, that's going to come to an end where it's time to close the business, and everything. And I know that, even for myself, I'm going to be like feeling a lot of emotions. I'm going to be feeling regretful. I'm going to be feeling sad. I'm going to be feeling happy. I'm going to be feeling all these like different types of emotions, When I say regretful, I'm meaning like more like man, I regret not like fully taking the business over, like fully being like a florist, like a, I think they consider, when you reach that, it's like a master, like that master level. It's almost like a teacher, where now because obviously there's levels to it, with floristry. So like being able to be on that level and just like take it over to continue the legacy for like another like 30 years, let's say, right? That, then also like just the sadness of like when the holidays pop up, Valentine's, Mother's Day, which are like really holidays that are very busy, where you all hands on deck, it's a rush, not experiencing that anymore. If I pass by old locations of where we were, just like people will look at that and just look at like an empty space, but in my mind I'm still looking at life. I'm still looking at like, I'm visually imagining people walking in and out, or just being behind that counter, or just being there present in the store, or just visually seeing what was being created, what was coming in and out, things like that, and then the happy part would be more, what, out of all these years we met a lot of people, we did do a lot of great things for people, we were there for a lot of people that needed help, especially during hard times, people that had a lot of loved ones that passed away, all the funeral services, floral arrangements, birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, sweet 16s, newborns, get well soon, like people asking their significant other out, so many different things, so many connections with all these people that, if it wasn't for that, we would have never met all these people. The experiences that I gained from that business, things like that. And, I'm always paying attention when I'm going to like a restaurant or a business, and I see that, oh, this is family owned and operated, it's like, oh, cool, I could relate to you guys, on that aspect. We got something in common. Also, when, I see like, oh, this business has been in business for like 20 years, 25, 30 years. It's like, oh man, that's a trip, I think about my father's business all the time, on how long. And then, when they reach that ending point, when now you see them gone. And I mean, within these last couple years, I've seen so many like businesses gone, closed out, and done. a lot of it has to do with the pandemic, the closures, things just caught up. Rent not being able to be paid anymore. There's a lot of that, and yeah, it's a trip. It's a trip. Like all these things, when you see a business just close, maybe management, was poor, spending was poor. It could be various things. But when you see a business that's been around for so long and then see it go out, it's pretty impactful. You're like, man, especially when it's one of those small mom and pop shop businesses that you would support and stuff, But then again, when you see the owners, already up in age and they're working, and you would be like thinking, man, they're like in their 70s and they're still working here. Like they should be retired, and they could, barely function and stuff. And you start to feel bad, and then they finally do it. It just comes to an end, The business is closed, and they just have to enjoy the rest of their life. They can't be just working the rest of their lives, and it's over, And then something new replaces it, and then that's it. It's history. Like people forget, or people just are unaware. They just don't know, like whatever went on, what happened there, and whatnot. And that's that could be sad too. But next year, January, that's the NNL West 2025. Last year, I hope when they do that, when they say nope, the next year's in that last year, so they hit that 40th, hit that landmark year, milestone year. Maybe they could do some t-shirts, some stickers, some pins, some bags. No, I'm not throwing all this out there. They're probably listening. I don't know if they're listening to this. They're probably like, this was saying, it was all crazy, saying he wants all this stuff, all this merch. But yeah, I walked around everywhere. At some point, took a lot of photos of a lot of cars. I couldn't take video just because my phone's like maxed out with like stuff. I gotta like back it up and like delete a bunch of stuff off my phone. But I did manage to just like, take so many pictures of cars, which was fun because I miss doing that. So it was fun doing that. And then I also checked out all the vendors that were there, all the stuff they were bringing out. And I didn't buy anything, which was kind of wild because I did feel like I wanted to buy something. Like I was like, I always buy something. I want to buy something. But I did not see anything that I wanted to get. So I ended up not buying anything, unfortunately. And I wasn't trying to resist either. I just didn't see anything. Because most stuff I was like, well, I already have that. Like, or I've had it and I never built it. And I moved on from it. And then I was walking around and I saw like a 62 Bel Air. I saw a couple of them. And I just love that box art. And I already have the kit, back at home. But in my mind, I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll buy that. Maybe I'll get the 62. So, Luis, LXC Models on Instagram, he was walking by and I'm like, hey, what's up? And he's like, hey. And I told him, hey, come with me. Help me find a 62 Bel Air. And he's like, yeah, cool. So just so we could kick it, We're walking around and we're like looking, and those two that, because he was like, yeah, I think I saw them. I think I know what you're talking about. They should be over here somewhere. We go over there, and I was like, yeah. We go there, they're all gone. And I was like, oh man, okay. They're, like, people snagged them up, and then that was it. I was like, oh, all right, well, there you go. That prevented me from buying anything. So I didn't buy anything at all. I was just like, man, that's crazy. I thought I was gonna be buying like a kit or two or something. Last year I bought a bunch of kits. I bought a bunch of JDM kits and stuff, and this time I didn't see anything. So yeah, I didn't end up buying anything. My friend did. Randall bought a bunch of stuff. he always finds stuff. So he ended up picking up some stuff, and then finally, once they started announcing the People's Choice Awards and all that stuff, the picks, I started seeing people kind of start packing it up, and then I started seeing I saw some vendors calling it quits early, like at 1:30 or so, and I was like, oh man, what? Did they sell out or what the heck? And I don't know. I just started seeing some people pack up, but an hour later, 2:30, they started announcing stuff, and then it's like, all right, it's time to bounce. And we started, I was like, you know what, dude, let's just pack, bro. Let's just jam, because that game is going to start soon. People are showing up, and I think we should go before it gets all crazy. So we started packing up, and then we were just like outside loading up the car, and yeah, you see crowds of people just walking through, to get to the stadium over there. And I think it's the Levi's or Levy Stadium. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know. I honestly don't even watch sports. I'm not a sports guy. I'm more into combat sports. I love watching MMA, boxing. I don't want to say I love watching boxing. I like watching boxing. I'll watch it, but I'm more in tune I like mixed martial arts. And then from there, I start watching other stuff that I come across, whether it's like kickboxing or like jiu-jitsu stuff. I like all that stuff. I like watching all that competitive stuff. That's my thing. But as far as like other like sports, traditional sports, that most people watch, nah. And not that I don't want to. I mean, if it's on, it's on, but I'm not watching it like hardcore all the time, but it's all good, like I watch the other stuff, like when it's on, dude. There was like a fight, a UFC fight, that night, and I was telling my homie David, me and him always text each other during the fights when all these main events pop up, and he's like, hey, are you gonna watch the fight tonight? And I was like, if I make it, I was like, if I not, I'll check on X or Twitter, I'll check highlights, I'll see what's up, but I definitely want to check that out. And then I thought I was gonna get home at midnight because it's the 5-hour drive. No, I got home like around 9 p.m. Not so bad at all, and I was able to get home and watch the main event at the end. I made it just in time to see the fighters walk out, do the intro, and then see the fight go down and end. So it was like, dang, like that was pretty cool. So at least I got to see that. So, I saw David at NNL, and then later I'm texting him at night, yeah, I made it. I'm like watching this thing right now. So it was cool. So one thing, I wanted to bring up, and I was very shocked to find out the news at NNL, is model builder / artist. He's one of the homies, Mike Alvarez, passed away, and I didn't even know, but it was earlier this month in January. From what they were telling me, it might have been like, I think a week and a half, and I was completely shocked, and when I was hearing about this, when they said Mike and his last name, he popped in my head, but I wasn't too sure. I was like, I don't know, is it that Mike? Because there's other Mikes that I know, and I was like, I don't know, and Mike's not on, he's not like on, like on Instagram or anything like that. It's more low key. And, man, how long has it been? I don't know if it's been like 5 years or 8 years from when I met him. And almost like every model show in Southern California and even the NNL West, he's always there. Always, and it tripped me out. Like when I heard the name, and I was just like thinking, but I didn't like talk to anybody else, like to get about it, at the show, because I had heard about it, and then I was just like. But when I want to go take photographs of models, right? I was doing all these rows. When I got to the final row, that final row, it's really the first row when you walk into the venue. But since I started backwards from the back to the front, I was getting to the last row. And there, they had a photograph of Mike. They had his model kits, or models that he built, and an award, like a trophy that he had received, and it was him, and it was that Mike that popped in my head, but I still wasn't too sure, right? And I was like, what? I was just tripping out to see that photograph of him. He's smiling, he's holding the award. And I was just like, I couldn't believe it. Like, what? Like, he passed away? Like, that's crazy. Like, how? Like all these like, questions and thoughts start going through your head. And I'm like, damn, that's crazy. And, with Mike, I always, like every time I'd see him, we say what's up, we talk for a bit, and then, we go about our ways during the show. But since the shows, you're in the same room, you're still seeing each other constantly, right? Because you're there for, think about it, if you're there from like 7 a.m. and the thing doesn't end till 3 p.m., it's like all those hours, like of just, you're in the same room. So you still like run into them, like, yo, what up? Oh, check this out. And then, and then you talk again later, and then you chill, and then you talk, so you're always constantly talking with people at these shows, right? And I remember with him, he'd come over, we talk and whatnot, and then, by the time we'd be like hanging out by where the models are, talk over there, and then about what we're seeing and all that. And then I remember it was always cool because there would always be a point where, he would start showing me on his phone what he was working on. And Mike was known to build 143 scale. That was like his thing. He was known for that. He had an eye for that. He was like just highly skilled. And I would ask him like, man, what's up with the 143? And like, just for him, it's like, it's just one of those scales that's like, not that many people do it. It's pretty like a rare kind of thing. There's people that do it, but it's not like a lot of people do it, So it was quite interesting to for him to be doing that, because it's more common to do all the other scales, 124, 125th, 132, and even 132, it's like, okay, like this is a small one close to that, but then this is 143. This is something very different. And I finally got to see his cars in person there at the show, laid on the table. I took photographs of his models, his photograph, his award, and even that award that he got, dude, it's like a huge trophy. He got that at the NHRA museum. That was that show that took place around November. I was in Mexico, or coming back from Mex. I could not go to that show, to Van at all, because I was out of town during that one there. But it's kind of crazy, I think, man, if I would have gone to that show, that that would have been the last time I would have seen him. The last time I saw him was at OrangeCon of last year. That was the last time I saw him there. And I was thinking he was gonna be over here. I really, because he's always there. He has a friend that he's always with, and his friend Ben's at mostly all the shows, and I know those two guys are always together. So I expected like him to be there at this event, and he wasn't there. So finding the news and then seeing that photo, I was just like, oh man, like, I felt sad, like bad for him, I was like, man, like he passed away, like what the hell, like that's so crazy, and it's just, I don't know, man, it's just really crazy. Like you start seeing more and more and more people just like pass away, like at a rapid rate though. It's not like, once in a while. No, it's like a lot of people, that are in the hobby and even not in the hobby that I know of. And I'm like, yeah, this is kind of a trip. And I always think like, well, I mean, a lot of people, people get sick. People can get a disease, whatever, right? There's different ways people pass. And we don't know that, Sometimes we don't know that. Not everyone's going to disclose their personal information, or you don't know the mental state, too, of someone. Someone could just take their life and stuff like that. And it's sad, I think, people feel that way. I hope they would be strong to just reach out to someone, and or at least if you can't reach, at least like throw the white flag out there. Let everyone know, like, yo, like something's up. So then this way, others can reach out to you, and we could go from there. Like, because yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard seeing those things, and as far as like, the taking care of yourself, it's really on the person, if they want to be healthy, I mean, exercise is a huge factor. What we consume in our body is a huge factor. What we expose our bodies to is a huge factor, and a lot of things. But I don't know. Just try to take care of yourself and each other, But I don't know. I wish I could see, that Mike could come out more shows. I wish he was still around and stuff like that. But yeah, rest in peace to him, and condolences to his family and friends, his loved ones and all, people around him that knew him and stuff. And yeah, it's crazy, man. I was just completely shocked, from that, and it's just, we gotta continue to move forward, but also keep those in memory. Everybody who was here on this earth that we exchanged words with, that you did things with. You gotta always remember them, because they were here for a reason, and they did their work, they're done, and now it's like we gotta continue on. We gotta move it forward, embracing them and thinking about everybody that we have that's passed away, and cause yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough, but yeah, I mean, R.I.P. to him. But I'm gonna post, like the pictures and photos and stuff of him, later, so people could see. And because today is what, Tuesday, so it's, I'm fairly recovering from the trip and all that. I mean, Monday I was busy doing stuff. It was raining like crazy yesterday. Now it's all sunny, it's all nice, but it's just one of those things where I'm like, all right, back into the routine of things, and just overwhelmed from the trip, and I gotta just like start cranking out that content again, putting it out before I start to get more busy for February, and yeah, and just get back into the groove of things with building. I did on the last one I had mentioned about the PZY resin Huracan kits, the Liberty Walk, the silhouette. I did receive those kits. They're two different kits. I mean, they're pretty much the same. It's just one of them is more like a convertible, like you could take off the top off one, and then the other one is just like a hard top. And I sold out of the hard top ones, which was the one that has the purple artwork. That car is like completely sold out. I'm all out of that. I still have a few more of the one that's the convertible top with, but it does come with the piece. You can still glue it on if you don't want to do convertible top, so you can still seal that up and have it, as like a hard top. So I still have that there, and I only have a few of those left, and those are the ones with the blue artwork or the blue livery on that cover. So those are the last ones that I have there. I mean, once I sell out, I don't know if I'm gonna get any more. I mean, I did get people hitting me up on them. People grabbed them, and now it's like I can't wait to see them being built. So who knows? I might get more, might not. It's right now it's like it's a no. But down the road, if I change my mind, if they're available, then I might get more. But we'll see. But if you're looking for one, they're here. They're already here in the U.S. And yesterday I shipped a bunch of them out, and I got a couple more that are going to go out tomorrow, Wednesday. So if you want to order one, they're there. They're available, and they'll be going out this week. There's also more product that dropped that I should be receiving. I mean, I already got it. I just got to put it on the site. But the Nunu Hobby, there's a couple of Volvos with like racing livery Volvos that I received. So those are going to be going up soon on the site. They look pretty dope. These were ones that got delayed. They were supposed to come out, probably one of them I think was supposed to come out like maybe 2 years ago. Now it's probably been 2 years. It finally came out. I want to say late last year and early this year. It was available, and it's a Volvo, and I was tripping out on that because I still remember when I got the pre-orders for that, and I went ahead and I pre-ordered my copies of it, and then I started making that available on my site as a pre-order, and I got some pre-orders on it, but man, this thing was lagging so much that in the pre-orders, some of them just ended up getting substituted for other items instead, because there was other items that they wanted, so they just decided just to pretty much substitute that kit, that pre-order, for just other stuff, just so we could close out the order, and then when these were going to come out later, just be able to just get them then. But man, I remember that, and that was a long time ago, and that's also, those were like the reasons why I stopped doing pre-orders on items, just because you're not even guaranteed of when it's gonna show up. They could tell you, oh, it's gonna be available in let's say June, but if they discover something went wrong and they've been printed, then that gets canceled, and then they push it back. So manufacturer will push back the date, and then that June could become like December, and then later that could change, and then that could be pushed out to the next year, to March. And what sucks is that, if you're doing that pre-order, your customer's been waiting all this time, and then you have no control over it. So it's just like, you just have to keep your customer in the loop. But still, it's just, that's a long time. And I just didn't want to do that. I just don't want to do no pre-orders. I do get hit up from people from time to time, like, oh, can I pre-order this, pre-order that? and I'm just like, no, I'm sorry, we don't do pre-orders. So it's just like, once I get it in, it's in and available, and and that's it. And if we could get more, we'll get more, But yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I've seen other online stores kind of cut back and stop doing the whole pre-order thing too for those reasons. Because that I feel like the pre-orders could hurt your business too. It can make people think like, oh, well, you're not even coming through, or oh, this is all BS or whatever, and it sucks because it's out of the store's control. It's more in the control of the manufacturer. And even then, I remember back then, man, they would lag it so much to get like kits from overseas, because they're shipping them in the containers, and it was like, dang, this is taking forever to get here. And now they've been kind of on it quick. It's been a little bit more faster, but there was a time where, man, it would take like 6-8 months just to get something that was released. It was supposed to come out, back then, and you're barely getting it. And that was kind of whack, But now things seem to be back on track. So we'll see. But yeah, I'll be posting a video soon on that, on what arrived regarding like kits and the tools and stuff like that. So you guys can check out scaleriders.com for the latest. More things coming up. I mean, it's the new year. It's 2024. Let's build, no limits. I mean, this is the time, that we got to take it to that next level. Every year there's something new. Someone's always doing something new, a new detail. Something new is being printed, a new tool is being created, and we just got to put all this stuff to use. We have to build that confidence, knowing that we can do it, and we just got to keep pushing forward to see how far we can take this hobby. So this 65 Locs checking out. I'm gonna let you guys go. Hope you have a good day, a good week, and see you guys on the next one. Peace out. Peace.